Thank you. That was one of their favorite pieces, and it was one of the most difficult at first because it's a slower piece. I've explained to the students that slower songs are harder than faster songs, and you wouldn't think so, because if it's faster, you would think you had to move your fingers faster, and that is true, but at a younger age, it's harder to keep from speeding up. And we call that something in the band. If you speed up by accident, what's that called? They know that word. It's called rushing. They're rushing ahead. They're getting ahead of the beat. We've worked on that quite a bit this year, and they've really started to hold that down. And I found when I play professionally in Pittsburgh, the people that are older than me that play, they rush even less than I do. So I think it's an age thing. The younger you are, you rush more, and then as you get older, you just stay on the beat. And the older players keep a really good beat. So that's a good thing. So they will start not rushing as much as they get older. Our next piece is one of our favorites too. It's entitled, you might know it, Old MacDonald Had a Farm. We're going to change it to Old MacDonald Had a Band. Okay.
Connor's on the snare.
We couldn't wait to get over to this wooden stage and practice that. Has to do with being hollow underneath it. It's really works well. Our next piece is a classical piece written by Beethoven originally. And the neat thing about this one, Ludwig van Beethoven wrote his Ninth Symphony. He really couldn't hear all that well. He was losing his hearing. So he just had the idea to write the notes. And he was such an accomplished composer that he knew what it would sound like. And when he wrote the Ninth Symphony, this is one of the melodies, one of the many melodies that's included in that Ninth Symphony. And one of the neat things, it's one of the first times that Beethoven used a chorus, a singing voice, a large chorus, to have this melody. And it actually has words. So this is called Ode to Joy.
Connor's on the train.
Thank you, and would like to acknowledge them. They've worked so hard. I've had such a good fun, let's say, experience with the students this year. So parents, I would like to thank you so much for giving me the chance to work with them. It has been a real joy. From the beginning of the year, they've really been like sponges, picking up all the information, and we've had a wonderful, wonderful time this year working with the 4th grade. A few little things we just did, the cutoffs, and they're really watching, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Give yourselves a pat. On that last song, we did feature some of the percussion section. I know Ryan was on the suspended cymbal, and that was a new thing that we added this year. In 4th grade, when you start doing percussion, they have it a little bit different than everyone else. If you're a saxophone player or flute player, whatever, you come in, you sit in your spot, and you play your music. Not the percussionists. They move around and play bass drum on one song and snare drum on the next song. Hit the bass drum there, Riley. That's the big white one in the back. And then Nathan, something on the snare drum there. And then you heard the suspended cymbal down there too. So they have to do all the auxiliaries, so it's a little bit more difficult. And we do a percussion sheet that's an assignment sheet, so they know exactly what they're playing on each song. So that's a percussion section. So we've talked about the flutes and the percussion. We have 7 more instruments in the band. How about the clarinet section? Where are you? So any 3rd graders? We usually have a lot of students start the clarinet. And if you look at the top of their clarinet, if you can face the reed out toward the audience, that little white thing that you maybe see at the top is a little wooden reed. So clarinets use a reed to make the vibration, whereas a brass instrument, thanks girls, you put those down. A brass instrument, you have to buzz your lips, like kind of a raspberry. So buzzing your lips. Puckering your cheeks and buzzing your lips actually is a brass instrument. But the woodwind instruments are different. The flute, you blow over the top and it creates a whistle. The clarinet uses the reed to vibrate. Also, using the reed to vibrate are our saxophones, and we have 2 varieties, the alto and the tenor. Go ahead and hold those up. And let's do this. Cassie, can you stand up along with Avery and hold your saxophones forward right beside each other so you can see the difference. That tenor saxophone's bigger. It's kind of a cool thing. But we do have a couple instruments that we use. These are school-owned instruments. Usually the students buy their own alto sax, but I get volunteers to play the bigger one, the tenor saxophone. And they're sitting, good, you can sit down. They're sitting by the lower brass because the tenor sax usually helps this group of instruments play. That's some of the brass. So we'll play our next song and then introduce some more instruments. This next song is a fun song entitled Blues Rock. Thank you. Over to the far side, we have brass instruments, and they're the smallest brass instrument. It's the trumpet section. Hold your trumpets up, people. And probably because I'm a trumpet player, it seems often we get a lot of extra trumpet players playing instruments. So that's a very popular instrument. Also, okay, thank you. Also, a small brass instrument, high brass we call that, like the trumpet, are the French horns. Why don't you stand up, kids? And the French horn is such a beautiful instrument, and it uses a similar mouthpiece to trumpet in size. So that's a small brass-sized instrument. And then moving on, the lower brass, like I said earlier, we have baritones. Why don't you stand up? stand up and show them your baritone. That's a baritone, which a baritone horn is very similar to the tuba, the brass tubas. In fact, it's like piccolo and flute. The baritone is half the size of the tuba, just like the piccolo is half the size of the flute. The next section is the trombone section, and the trombones do something different than any other instrument. I always demonstrate this at each concert. Wyatt, you want to play? This is called a glissando. I like, do that again. I like that. Very good. That's called a glissando. Thank you. Yes, good job. And then finally, our tubas in the back row. And if you notice, we have one that's a different color than the other ones. This is called a sousaphone. And the sousaphone is used especially for marching in parades. And it's nice because it's made out of fiberglass, which is a little bit lighter than it were if they were all brass. If you've ever seen the Penn State Blue Band at Penn State University, they march silver sousaphones. And I think they usually have 20 or 30 of them in their band. So it's a very huge band at the marching band at Penn State University. So we're lucky to have our 3 tuba players here. The lower brass section adds so much to the band, and we're lucky at Brookville to always have enough lower brass people. It's really what makes a band sound very balanced. Next, we would like to play a song, and I need your help for it. It's entitled Happy Birthday to You, and it just so happens that we have a member of our band, their birthdays today. And Dustin, he's on the cymbals. You can see him way over there. So let's sing Happy Birthday to Dustin as we play.
There's Connor and Riley and Nathan over there.
Sing along. Ready, go. Thank you very much. And as always, boys and girls, you are such a good audience. Anytime you come and hear programs, I really appreciate it, and my students really appreciate it. All the hard work that the band members and orchestra members and chorus members put into the concerts, we appreciate how good the audiences always are at the high school. Thank you very, very much for that. Our final selection is one of their favorites. It's entitled We've Got the Spirit, and we play it every time, and the students have a little special thing that they're going to do movement-wise for their parents. I don't know if they told them ahead of time, but it's kind of a cool thing that we do every year. And I would like to thank, again, the parents for coming. If you would like to take photos afterwards, that would be great. Just come up right on stage. Sometimes they ask me to be in the photo. I don't mind doing that. It's okay, too. But we have plenty of time afterward to do that. And I would like to also thank our administrators and all the elementary faculty, making sure the students get down to lessons. It's a very confusing schedule at times, and I appreciate all the extra work that our teachers do to make sure the students come. We've had a new thing with band this year. It's been a split period, and it was only 20 minutes per day, so we ended up coming in 20 minutes at KTO on Tuesday and 20 minutes at KTO on Wednesday rather than one full period. And I honestly feel it has worked to our advantage. I think getting them to play their instrument a little bit 2 days rather than a lot 1 day has really helped. Plus when they add in their practice at home. I really like it that way. I hope we can continue that. I haven't talked to the administrators yet, but we hope that we can do that again. But this is We've Got the Spirit. Thank you again. And for the fourth grade teachers, I will still have band last period. We'll have band. We'll continue that. We'll continue band and lessons till the end of the year. We have other things we can work on, and we can play some of these too for fun. So at this time, I guess we'll dismiss. So we'll start with our third grade, and then followed by the fourth grade. Parents, at this time, if you'd like to come up, the students will just stay in this position. If anyone wants to take more photos, feel free.